6. All these diamonds dancing on my fucking neck cost like 4 bricks. Ain't no way that I be toting on that strap, don't make no sense. He $1 million nigga, but be posted in the bricks. It make no sense, yeah. It make no sense, no. It make no sense, goddamn. Make no sense, yeah. Make no sense, no. Make no sense, hey, young boy. Make no sense, no. It make no sense. I could hit it, I could whip it, I could bang it, I could stash it, I could trap out like a motherfucker. And you know me, bitch, I just bought another 30 burner. I whip too hard, so I got Ike and Mitch got Tina Turner. It don't make sense, I'm not alright, bitch, I'll put you under. I ain't cut too much, I got that shit that make him tweak like down.
Along with his manager nursing a bad back right now, and we know why, Slick.
Now, you seem to be somewhat an intelligent man.
Well, thank you.
I want to ask you your mediocre opinion.
Yes?
Why in the world would a man who is a former intercontinental heavyweight champion, a man who is respected and cheered and loved, adored by these...
Revered?
Media... Oh, don't you shut up and give me a chance for what I got to say, you onion here. Anyway, as I was saying, why would a man like that have the audacity, I'm talking about you, Chico, to put his hands on me? One of the most prestigious commodities in professional wrestling today. Haven't bothered nobody. And this man has the nerve to pick me up and slam me in the floor, all because he doesn't want to have to deal with this man here. Well, you know, we can't get him right now. So we're going to take the next best thing. And that happened to you.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to take Pedro, nothing happened, Morales, right out of Miami. Boy, they got too many people like you down there anyway. I know that they wouldn't mind getting rid of you, chap. So let me tell you something. Pedro, I got a message for you to give to Tito. You see, once I get done with you, boy, once I give you the most natural whooping you ever had in your life, I'm going to be whooping you so bad you're going to like it. Then you're going to go back and you're going to tell Tito how good it might be. It's going to hurt for a long time. But after a while, Butchween will be whooping on you so sweet. That's so good, you're going to like it. And then after that, Tito, I'm going to tie you, and I'm going to gag you, and I'm going to let Slick take that stick, and I'm going to let him wear you out, boy.
Just like I'm your daddy.
Because that's what you need, sucker. You stepped out of line, and so you know what's going to happen. Somewhere down the line, after I get through combing Pedro Morales' nappy head, we're going to give you a public talking.
Thank you very much. Thanks for asking me my opinion. I thank you, Slick. We'll see you at the Night Center.
We had, say what? A whole lot of superstars on this stage here tonight. But I want y'all to know one thing. This is my house. And when I say who's house,
word attack skills and vocabulary too. Cover hits in this edition is all brand new. You're through.
All right, okay. I'm done. I'm done here.
So who?
Fuck your beef.
I was done when I found out she was the young boy never booked. Like, wait a minute. Like, the hell?
Ring Time Pro Wrestling at it again. Keith and Keshia. I forgot to tell Keshia we would start the show. I was talking and the promos was running and a little behind the scenes. There's some stuff that go behind when y'all hearing stuff in the beginning, and we just be talking. And we was talking about music, and my kid has a playlist, because I let my kid share my Tidal account, right? And she got playlists on my playlist, so I started listening to some of the songs on her playlist. Calling myself semi-trying to be a good parent, like, hey, I should know what my kid's into, right? You know what? My parents really didn't know what I was listening to when I was 13, and I think it's better that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. After listening to some of the music, I said, "Oh wow." I'm shocked.
All right.
Also, slightly impressed by some of it. I've got a new song I like that y'all heard at the beginning of the show. Makes No Sense. My Young Boy Never Broke Again. Which, I mean, hey, I thought A Tribe Called Quest was a lot to say.
No, that's just. I'm gonna hurt my head saying all that. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna remember his name from tomorrow because that's just too much to remember. Like, what are we doing here?
But
like, he really sat down and was like, "This is cool. Let me use this as my rap name." What the hell?
Yes. You'd be surprised, man. At least it's not. So I don't like this initial shit that they got going on. Like, my name is JLK McMahon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, you mean like YS and Lucci?
Yeah. All that stuff is like confusing to me. So, here's the thing. I have crossed the threshold of old man that I did not think I was going to ever hit. So, when I was younger, I was like, oh man, I'm not going to be that old dude that be like, back in my day, and my music was better, and yada, yada, yada. No, I'm it. And this is, I knew a few years ago where I had lost it. You know, these award shows be coming on TV, and then, you know, every time about that time of year, you start watching award shows, right?
All right.
I realized that I had turned into my mama when I was like, who is that? And when, you know, when they give you the rundown of the show, and they start talking about all the people who going to be on it, and I'm like, I don't know none of these people. I don't know none of these people. I don't know none of these songs. I don't know none of this. I was like, yo, I fell out the loop. I ain't cool no more. And Keish, that's a tough pill. Like, that's why I'll go out, because if I went to the club or the bar or something, I'd be like, everybody be like, that's my jam. I'd be like, when they go play some Biggie?
Right.
When they go play?
Exactly.
Hey, at least get me to the early 2000s, right?
Right.
Play some old school T.I. Early Gucci Mane, right? Like, see, people might know some Gucci Mane, but I'm so icy. Like, I'm kind of back there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where that first Jeezy album, like, and you know, when I find out, like, oh yeah, you know, that's old school now, right?
Right.
Excuse me? That was the new stuff for me, right? That's old school now? Shit, I done got that old. Where, like, the old school stuff was like, that was the next generation, as far as I was concerned.
Right.
Nah, bro, you old. Like, you up there. And, you know, I get it. And I'm really not that old, right? But I'm old. And it's like I said, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Only thing that keeps me cool really is technology. Like, I kept up. So I'm kind of like our dad. So I keep up with tech, and that makes me feel okay. And that's what he was my inspiration. Because, like, Daddy never fell behind on the technology, right? Like, he would have a new cool shit before everybody. Like, you go over his house and it's like, hey man, I got these new goggles that you can hook up to your phone and you can do virtual reality. And it's like, I didn't even know they had some shit like that. Or like, I'm gonna tell you, the first time, like the TV he got now, the first time I came over and saw that shit, you know, I was watching some movie and it looked like you was like there.
Right.
I didn't want to come home and watch my shit. I'm like this. I can't even. I'm like, damn. What definition is this? This is. I know this ain't 1080p. Like, this right here is like the TV got a little curve to it. Like, what the hell? And like, it was just like a kick it. And I'm like, didn't y'all just get a new TV? Yeah, we put that in the bedroom. Like, huh?
sick of it. Like,
Right.
I'm sick of it.
Right, like,
look at her, like,
you come over there
Like,
and him
what?
and Mama sitting there on tablets. I'm like, these niggas got 10-inch Samsungs. Like, what the? And then, like, unnecessary phone upgrades. Like, well, I got the watch, and, you know, the 7 didn't work with the watch, so we went and got the 8s. So, but
I still no, because I was looking at him when he did that. I was like, "Daddy, are you serious?" Like, he said it so nonchalantly. That's what got me. Is he was like, "Yeah, so my watch didn't work with that one, so I had to upgrade it to another one." And I was like, "So you just went and just upgraded the damn phone because the watch didn't work with?"
okay.
Like, what are we doing here?
First of all, I need to figure out who are these rich people.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Because the poor folks I grew up with weren't doing none of this.
Right.
I'm talking about, like, the lectures I got for just trying to get a Nintendo, like the Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? Took a lot out of me, right? The idea of trying to get a pair of Jordans was unheard of. And I don't know. I show up at a house one day on Christmas, and they done bought my kid like a couple pairs of LeBrons. I see my niece got some. I'm like, okay. All right, so that's Christmas, huh? No. Got her iPad too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What? When Marcus dropped, hey,
yeah, because
I just want a PlayStation and the Secret Santa. I'm thinking like, hey, what are Secret Santa gifts supposed to be like? You know, little gifts. Okay, no big deal.
Right.
Well, he got drawn by the right person, because next thing you know, bam, it's there. I'm like, shit, I don't aim high enough.
That's right. I was trying to keep it on the cheap side. I said, let me go and throw something in there that could be affordable, for anybody to get and whatever. This motherfucker here, he was like, nah, I'm going to get what I want. And he got what he wanted. And we all looking like, bruh, what?
If we knew that was the game. Right. But.
Right.
Just so y'all who are unfamiliar, these are our antics. So we've been going for like a month and a half.
Right.
Now me and Keshia have seen each other multiple times since the last time we've done a show. So it ain't like we just catching up. But we like to have fun. The wrestling world has been crazy since we've been gone. We didn't do an end of the year show. We didn't do a 2020 preview show. We didn't do a big blowout. And here's the thing. Now we can do a decade in review show, and this is the beauty, because, like New Year's stuff, it kind of gets old quick, and, if you don't do it within a certain time, it's kind of just redundant. But because a decade is so long, we can recap the decade anytime. And it probably would take some time to really put together. And once again, you want to talk about being old? It didn't really register to me that, hey, the end of 2019 was the end of a decade. Like, 2010 to 2019 is the end of a decade. We're at 2020, a new decade. Because 2010 is new shit to me still. You know what I mean? It's not my... So, if you want to talk about it in wrestling cycles, so, for me, when I caught on the wrestler, it's very mid-1980s, right? So, the 85 is like my first, it registers for me. And what I mean by that, like, even now I can recall the memories, right? So 85 is probably my start point for all of this. Like, if I saw something in 83, it didn't register for me, right? Like, I probably was watching it, but I don't have the basis for it. It's like that with sports and everything. Like, I see the clips and the highlights, And I have some remembrance of what people were talking about at the time, right? So, like, the 1983 NBA Finals, I don't really remember watching it, but I remember the adults talking about it. You know what I mean? So, when I start seeing clips and seeing stuff now, it takes me back to hearing Uncle Bobby and Dad talk about it. You know what I mean? But I don't really remember it, right? And so, but the wrestling, it starts to be, like, I'll say about 85, right? And shouts out to Uncle Bobby, because that's, if anybody want to know who put me on, that's where it started.
Really?
Yes. That's where all of this starts. And also, he is the one that pretty much let me know it was a work, right? And he didn't even let me know it was a work by saying, hey, this is scripted. But one day, and like, it had to be like 1990, because it sets up for WrestleMania 7. So 91, something like that. He comes over to Granny house and basically gives out the whole creative for the next 7 months.
Wow.
Like, he lays it out for me. He was like, I was like, yeah. He was like, you see Saturday Night's main event? I said, yeah, da-da-da. And he was like, yeah, nah, this was about to happen. At the next, show, Warrior go drop the belt to Sergeant Slaughter. So then Sergeant Slaughter go have a run at WrestleMania with Hogan. Hogan go get the belt back. Warrior go have a match with Macho Man. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Watching the show. Damn. Warrior got the match with Sergeant Slaughter. Best believe, Macho Man interfere. Warrior drops the belt. You know what I mean? Then Hogan Cup, through da-da-da-da. And, I mean, it plays out exactly how he said it. And I was like, oh, this shit ain't legit. Okay. You know what I mean? Now, I still believe, this is an irony too. I believe that WCW was real and WWF was fake.
Right.
Because that's what I believed at that point in time. Why? Because when you would watch the NWA or whatever, you would notice, and this was a funny thing too. So I started out watching WWF, but then anytime wrestler was on, I would watch it, and I'm like, well, what's this? And then he would kick it to me like, oh no, that's different. You know what I mean? Yo, I was on Channel 38 and I was watching this stuff. Oh, that's World Class. Oh, that's USWA. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, that's UWF. So, like, what's this Patriot and the Dark Patriot? What's this? You know what I'm saying? So, and then I would see guys. So, I didn't know that people would leave and go different places either. So, you know how you be watching the show and you be like, I don't know none of these dudes, but I know that dude. Right. I thought he wasn't even wrestling no more. I ain't seen him, on TV. Because he done left and I went to that other territory, yada, yada. Because this still happened in the 80s. All that to say. So, for me, the 80s is like my start point, right?
Right.
Then the 90s is its own separate thing. And then the way cycles happen in wrestling. So, 91, 92, like the early 90s is one thing. Then the mid 90s, like 93 to about 96, is its own separate thing. Because stuff is changing. And, people moving around. Things have happened. The wrestling recession happens where the business is down. So the companies are making assessments to try to make it happen with the business being down, right? And we don't have all these outlets, so you can't. Your guys who wrestle it on the indies or at these little small places are like, you don't get to see them. We're like, now, if your favorite wrestler go wrestle at Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, there's probably a way online I can catch it. You know what I mean? Or at least see some clips. But anyway, But that's his own thing. The 96 to 99 is a whole nother set of wrestling, right? Fast forward, that probably carries over till about 2002, right? And then 2002 to 2000, like the way wrestling cycles go, is so otherworldly. You forget. So, well, we're going to talk about 2010 to 2019, and we're going to do a recap of it. And it's going to sound crazy because so much has happened, especially now because the story arcs are shorter. So a lot gets jammed in. Like feuds are, shorter in a sense, but not really, because in 3 months now the guys are on TV so much, and they had 3 pay-per-views and yada. The cycle just runs different. So that's why I forgot holds a title for like a year or something. It's amazing.
Right.
Because you had to make him compelling and interested, and had to get him through so much different stuff over the course of the year. And they don't even carry out story arcs like that. Like, give you an example. WrestleMania 3, Hogan defeats Andre. Mind you, at that point, Hogan had been champ for like 3 years. Right?
Right.
He drops the belt in the little controversy of the Flub Hub with the $1 Million Man and the refs. Also, in today's wrestling, we talk about ridiculousness and storylines. Keith's fat, I will give you a little. Ted DiBiase would pay Andre the Giant to beat Hulk Hogan and then surrender the title to him. And that's how he was going to become world champion. Because he was the $1 Million Man. He could buy it. I forget if it's Earl or David Hebner is the referee, right? For the match. And they do the switcheroo. Or they don't necessarily do the switcheroo. The wrong Hebner is in the ring. And they do the fast count. Andre beats Hogan. The real Hebner comes out. Originally how the storyline was put, like they don't retell the story now that way, but the $1 Million Man paid so the other Hebner could have plastic surgery to look exact, even though they twins. That's how this works out.
Right.
But they even figured they'd jazz it up that the $1 Million Man paid for plastic surgery for the one ref, so everybody was confused. That's where President Jack Tunney comes in and just strips the title, holds it up, and WrestleMania 4 now becomes a tournament for the title. Right?
Right.
Crazy idea that they've never revisited. So, I don't get why the WWE now won't revisit some ideas, but they will run others into the ground. Right?
Right. True.
WrestleMania 4 as a tournament was one of the greatest ideas. So it was a 16-man tournament. Mixed in, there were some other matches. So I think Demolition and the Hart Foundation had a tag team title match. And there were some other matches, but for the most part, it was the world title tournament, right?
Right.
And what they did, they put Hogan and Andre. I want to say that they have a bye after the first round, and then they were in like a second round tier or something, or whatever happened. Their match was in the early part of the tournament, so they couldn't meet in the finals. Basically, is the way they set that up. So they can't meet in the finals. We're gonna get that out of the way anyway, right? Then they have a double disqualification. So what ends up happening is both of them are out, right? So you already know you're gonna have a new champ. Like, the booking for this was crazy. But they did the things, and basically DiBiase found a way to get an easy route to the finals. Macho Man had to, like, scratch and claw. Like, it was a great storytelling. And somebody had built this arc. You know what I mean? Fast forward, Macho Man wins it. WrestleMania 4. Macho Man carries the belt from WrestleMania 4 to WrestleMania 5, right? He drops it to Hogan at 5. Hogan, who had the belt for 3 years before, carries the belt from WrestleMania 5 to WrestleMania 6, where he loses to Warrior. Uninterrupted, right? You couldn't imagine that right now.
Right.
That belt would have been on 4 different people by then. So, I don't know. I went off on a tangent about something that we weren't even supposed to talk. So, let me give you the layout of the show. We're going to go wrestling news. We're not going to go Raw, SmackDown, all that, because that's a lot to jam. We'll be back next week with our traditional show, right? And we're still going to try to figure out how to work out all of these shows because there's just so much going on. If you can't enjoy wrestling right now, you probably don't dig it because it's like, and if you missed wrestling, I feel like this. There's something for everybody. So, I'm going to tell you, I really dig NWA Power. And I got to make time to go to the show, right?
Right.
Next taping, I need to be down at the studio. It's just a nice feel. Because I grew up in the 80s and I would watch, the NWA when it would come on TBS, yada, yada. Even though it wasn't my primary, it was cool to see. And I can't imagine being a 605 kid. So I watched it at 605, but there's a generation I think that really, really dives into that 605, right? Because at the time, what people don't know, on TBS, the Superstation, for whatever reason, they started their shows on the 5, right? All their shows started on the 5.
They still do that sometimes.
So, if your show came on at 5, it started at 5:05. So,
yeah.
And I can tell you, when I was a kid, the lead-in was Andy Griffin, I think, a lot of times. But you watch Andy Griffin, you turn over there at 6, it's like, oh, why Andy Griffin still on? It goes off, bam, 6:05, wrestler starts. And it would go for like 2 hours. And then they started syndicating like a little clip show that would come on Saturdays about 12 o'clock or whatever. But that wasn't until I was like a teenager. But when I was a kid, yeah, that was my wrestling fix for that. So I done watched Superstars of Wrestling earlier today from WWF. So now at 6:05, I get this wrestling. Cool. So to see NWA Power is very reminiscent, right?
Right.
And they invested like good quality guys that come in and really work and do, good promos. I like it. So there's that. Comes on Tuesday on the YouTube. Impact Wrestling. I don't know. And we're going to get to that as we go through the news. Of course, WWE, NXT, AEW, New Japan and MLW are going to have to figure out some stuff. But, it's still so much out there, right? You can watch wrestling almost every day of the week. And then if you got a Thursday where maybe you can't find something, cool. Use that day to catch up on something you couldn't see because there's so much time and content, man. I think if we had a bigger staff, we could just assign people look, man, these are shows you watch, and then you could just report on it, right? I have not even I was thinking about my notes, and I started writing, and then now I'm looking at it oh, you know what I didn't even mention? Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom went down at the beginning of this month. The biggest show outside of WrestleMania in the wrestling calendar. And then this day after, you get a title change because Okada wins. He beats Ibushi, Koto, and then him and Naito Naito won the IC title. They went title for title the next night. Tetsu Naito is now the grand champion. Okay, shit. Cool. But like, yeah, I sat there. I didn't even watch it so I woke up that night. I watched. I had a real estate class, like a continuing ed class, the next day, so I didn't really stay up too late. Came home, started watching some of the replays, and I realized, like, man, I don't even log into New Japan World enough anymore. It's just a lot. But anyway, we'll dive back. We'll figure it all out. Wrestling news. So I'm going to go down the line, Keish. You chime in where you can and give me what you
I sure will.
All right.
Of course.
Because here's the thing. I put them in order and I send them to you in order, but then it's like they don't even make sense in the order. I think I do them as they come, but then it's like I don't want to leave you on a thing. I don't want to run on a tangent about something and then talk about something else for 2 minutes. You know what I mean? And you lose it. So let's see if I can get this in a good order of importance. AEW gets renewed for another 4 years on TNT. And it's funny. So I heard Jim Cornette talking about it or whatever. And he's a little bit of a hater for AEW, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I love Jim Cornette, right? There are some things I will say he can be problematic sometimes, and he can fuck up. But sometimes I think he loses his shit. And now I'm starting to come to the side of other people where it's kind of like that dude can't. His concept, idea, I feel like this. It's just some old man stuff. He is locked up in the 80s. You know what I mean? He ain't coming out. Right? And you gotta remember, he's raised those 70s wrestling. He gets in the business in the late 70s, and then he works it through the 80s and 90s, yada, yada, yada. But his idea of presentation, I think, can't evolve to how things have just changed. And not just that, the world around how things happen has changed. So when people criticize AEW and their ratings, and it's like, well, they only draw like 1 million people. You know what I mean? Hey, man, on TNT on a Wednesday night, other than the NBA, ain't nothing else drawing like that, right?
This is true. Mm-hmm.
And they don't have NBA games on Wednesday night. They have, because ESPN have them. So they don't really, so they need something in that gap, right? Not to mention when basketball season not running, yada, yada, yada. But, like, they original programming ain't drawing that much. And television is different, right? Because he was like,
right.
Back when he worked for Vince, back when, you worked for Vince in the late 90s, right? They did want to get 5 million people to watch Raw. You know what's happened to television since the late 90s? You know how many more channels we have? Like in the late 90s, there was still just one ESPN. I have like 15 versions of ESPN. And I don't even have the extended package. Like, I don't even have like the highest tier of the cable package. And I got like 17 versions of Showtime.
Right.
When in 1999, man, there was one Showtime. There was one HBO. There was one Cinemax. On demand there was no real on demand pay-per-view. It was just pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So the idea of how television is watched is different. So to give you a little perspective, the highest rated program of all time, I think, is like the MASH finale. You know what I mean? You know why nobody's ever caught that? Because you can't get 33% of the marketplace on the show anymore.
Right.
Because, back then, they only had like 8 channels. There was, matter of fact, really, it was only 3 channels on. There was VHF and UHF, right? Like, it's a whole other world. So, and back then, that's why the TVs were set up. So, and most people didn't go off VHF. Most people didn't go over to UHF. They went to because the main channels were CBS, NBC, and ABC. Fox doesn't even make a play at this point, right?
Right.
But now people have way more options. So the ratings will adjust as there's just way more shit to do. And that's not even factoring in internet streaming, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Video. Like, as somebody who got all the streaming services, I'm going to tell you, Disney Plus, I don't know how many times I watch regular television now, right? Like, my TV now, I got the Xbox turned on, and I got the WWE Network running in the background. So, I say all that to say, what they're doing is good, because you know, and I think they're happy with what they're getting. They're getting a program that they've got a little bit of investment in, and they paying for the production costs basically, and they getting a good rating, and it's been a good rating every week for them. And even when they beat out NXT or don't beat out NXT, they still drawing more people than they would have if they just was running Claws that night. And I think one thing I will say, it speaks to the health of the wrestling business, right? Don't be surprised if NWA Power finds a distribution channel. Impact Wrestling is on Access TV, right? Running every week. That's a national cable, you know what I mean, destination. People, I mean, I think it speaks to the health and the resurgence of the wrestling business that they got renewed for that time. Speaking of AEW, Taz signs a multi-year deal with AEW. Good to see him on the mic doing his thing in the wrestling business. I can go some sad shit real quick. Not really sad. Okay, so this part of it. Chris Benoit and Owen Hart will both be subjects of Darkside of the Ring Season 2. Different members of their families have been interviewed. Owen's widow, who doesn't speak out a lot, has been interviewed, and they've recorded some of her stuff, which I think is going to be very interesting. So, we do not hear from her that much, and I can imagine she's going to rip into some people. Because she don't really fuck with the rest of the Hearts right now, just because they're kind of more back and ingratiated with the WWF. You know what I mean? She is kind of the holdup of Owen probably even getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, like, I could expect some fire coming out of that one. Now, some real sad stuff. Rocky Johnson passed away at 75. Known as Soulman Rocky Johnson, pioneer in the sport. A lot of you know him as The Rock's father, but who married to the great IIja, and they had The Rock. But the dude was a star in the business.
Yes, he was.
First African American tag team champions, along with Tony Atlas in the WWF. They were the first African American title holders of the WWF in 1983. And anytime somebody passes away, it's hard. Our condolences go out to the whole family. Because he touches a broad scope of the wrestling world. Because it was crazy. So when I went online, I saw Alpha Jr., who was Manu in the WWE. He was like, yo, man, R.I.P. And I was like, and everybody started panicking then. They was like, yo, Sika passed away? Nah. He was like, nah, man, Rocky. Right. So in their culture where theoretically they probably would be cousin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you older, you get that title up, right?
Right.
So like our mom's cousins, we would still call them our uncle in that culture, right? So a lot of the younger ones, you know, like I would see them post, and they would talk like, "Yo, Unc passed away." I'm like, "Oh snap!" And they was talking about Rocky, so of course I go check the line, and it's like, "Yeah, man, Rocky Johnson passed away." I was like, "Shoo." And I was just like, because you know, you like, the funny thing with celebrity death is like, I still have to double verify. So even when a family member was like, "Yo, this is what happened," I'm like, let me see, make sure this dude wasn't hacked.
Right.
And that's what it was. And it was like, oh, snap. And it was like, whew. And The Rock, he posted his video and he talked about, you know, losing an old man. And, you know, like I said, condolences go out to the families. And, you know, I know it's a tough time. And I know what it's like to lose a parent, man. That's a gut punch. And
ooh, that's an understatement.
You know, there's nothing you can prepare for. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing that could, you know. So, yeah. So, now let's talk about some other stuff that's pick the show up a little bit. Tessa Blanchard, right? So, in the time we have not done a show, Tessa Blanchard has been up and down and all the way around, right? So,
right, this is true.
We could have left it where it was, but I have to talk about it, right? And that's going to roll into some other race conversation. So, Tessa Blanchard is the Impact Wrestling champion, right?
Right.
Set that and put that right there. Prior to the last pay-per-view, she posted something online saying, "Hey, women in wrestling, we got to support each other," right? Doesn't seem like a big deal on the surface. Little did she know that little post was going to start some shit. Because then it started rolling out, "Hey, right, you should take your own advice. Considering how you bullied me and was an asshole to me back in the day." Then another person chimed in.
Right.
Like, "Yeah, man, you was fucked up back in the day." Like, and when I say back in the day, I'm talking like 2017.
Right.
And the shit start rolling downhill to the point of, "Yeah, remember that time you called a girl a nigga?" Like, whoa.
Yeah, that was, ooh. That got you real quick. That post took a whole left. And I don't think she was prepared for that. But then again, some people don't, you know, you can't do people wrong and think that they think that they're just going to forget about it.
So, some people question the timing of it, right? Like, hey, this is the night before she go possibly make history, yada, 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 right? And I want you to understand that I'm going to treat that part of this completely separate from this conversation. I was actually waiting to hear from like 3 or 4 key people, right? And I'm not sure if any of them really spoke on it. Gail Kim speaks on it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't see anything from Kiera Hogan. And it may be out there, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to use the power of Google right now while we're on the show. Just to see if there's something. Because I'm sure all the dirt sheets have something. Because Kiera is, for what I gleaned, cool with Tessa. Jordan Grace is another one that was very particular. Because what? Tight with Kiera, engaged to John Grisham, a black man. How does this all work? And, I mean, hey, Tessa's engaged to a Mexican guy, right? And I want to throw that out there, like, as a caveat to her not being racist. Because actually, there's a deeper discussion that can be had on white people with intimate partners who do racist shit. It's a thing on the internet. I hate to break that to you. I'm just going to put that in there. And, so, because Big Swole commented on Tessa Blanchard, and I'm trying to see if Kiera Hogan, that kind of in line with what I, because she was kind of silent for a while, right?
Right.
I learned a lot about this situation and stuff that happens online. You learn a lot because Moose stepped up to kind of defend Tessa. He got called every Uncle Tom in the book. Let's just say this incident did happen because there was Tessa denies it. Did she say some stuff might have happened? Yada. But the person who had happened to said, yeah, it happened. There was a lot of co-signage of it happening, right?
Right.
This is what I'll say. We are subtold of our experiences and things are never as black and white as we like to think they are, but if you did it, you did it. You got to own it. And the best thing to me is you need to apologize and move on that way. I am not going to try to indict her as a person and say she's this terrible person, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to use her father's past transgressions against her, anything like that. I would say, honestly, personally, I met Tessa Blanchard a couple times, right? On her rise up before she was ever signed to anybody big. Always delightful, fun, you know what I mean? These were settings where, you know, of course she was trying to sell herself, so I think she probably wouldn't have done that anyway. But, and even I resisted the idea of the label of her being hard to deal with or her having an attitude problem, just because I know women get tossed with those kind of labels unfairly sometimes.
Yeah, all the time.
Right. So, I'll say this. A lot of people can't be wrong, right? But that doesn't mean that that's who she is now either. I would say this. Sometimes don't rush to. I think most people who handle it pretty well. Kiera handled it pretty well in the sense that she didn't cape for her. She didn't step up and try to like take the bullet for her. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people will do stuff like that. And it's like, nah, man. Sometimes you just don't know people. Or you wasn't there for the thing, right? One thing we got to stop doing too is when somebody have an issue of race, let's not, especially just because we like somebody on the other side, let's not immediately look for an instance of how, if this is true. It's probably true. Like the young lady who was involved, I wasn't that familiar with her, but apparently she's black, of Hispanic culture, and she honestly didn't want to talk about this. Like, she didn't really want it to come out, but it came out, and since it came out, she was like, yeah, shit happened. We have to understand that the wrestling business is a crazy place, but you don't have to cape for somebody. You know what I mean? I'm not here to call Tessa Blanchard racist, right? But that incident is definitely racist. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it speaks to some larger things. Like, does she have an attitude problem? I don't know, but I'll say this. After being in the original Mania Classic, she didn't get signed. Something happened.
Right.
Right? She developed a reputation that somebody people probably weren't comfortable with. Especially being a legacy in the business.
Right.
They love that shit. So for her to not be with the biggest company in the world, I'm gonna say something about her might be a little suspect. Now,
yeah,
I'm gonna go away from that and say she won the Impact World Championship. Okay, so I'm gonna attack this from two sides. I'm gonna let you speak to it a little bit more because I don't want to mansplain this, and I don't want to be, how do I say, sexist in it. What is your impression of her winning the title?
I honestly, I didn't understand it, and this is why I say that. Because, and it's not because the women have a title. So when China was wrestling in WWF, right?
Right.
And people were talking about how she was winning a kind of title and she was breaking these barriers and, all this kind of stuff. I mean, she was even a number one contender for the WWF title itself.
Right.
No one really told her that she couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a thing that never happened. Like, in my mind, it was more like she was encouraged. Because we knew China just wasn't built for the women's division. Tessa, on the other hand, is a little different in this situation. And the reason why I say that is because Tessa has put herself in situations to where it's not that she's not built for the women's division. It seems more so like they don't want her there. And she doesn't play well with others. So, said, yeah, you can get into the men's division and you can dominate and whatever, but at the same time, are you really capable of handling this situation?
Yeah, so...
Because I just think that her winning the Impact, World Heavyweight title, it's a lot to bear on your shoulders. You know what I'm saying? As a woman, you're not just wearing a belt. It's not just a title. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the title.
Yeah.
It's the title that they cash in the X Division Championship for.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So,
the title that every single man wants. So
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go there with you, right? And it's funny because we didn't have any conversation about this prior to.
We didn't.
So I wanted it that way because I wanted to see just where this would go, right? And okay, I feel a lot better because you're in line where I'm at. So I remember China and her run. Okay, I was very supportive of it, right? Which I don't know what any of this means by me saying this because the internet accused you of everything. When China made her run for the IC title, I didn't feel like it discredited the title, right?
Right.
Now, we can go into gender politics and identity and all that stuff or whatever, but this is where I'm going to say. China was 6 foot something, 200 plus pounds, and jacked to the nines, right?
Right. Cool.
She was a physical specimen unlike any other. Was it natural, whatever? You can get into that later. But on the surface, she was a physical specimen that has never been reduplicated in the world of professional wrestling. She is an exception to the rule when I talk about me not liking intergender wrestling, yada, yada, yada. Right? That being said, and no, she didn't really compete against women until later in her career, which was kind of a punishment kind of thing in a way, or kind of a thing to ruffle her to get her to kind of quit because of some other things that happened in her personal life anyway, because that goes into some other shit. But
Right.
prior to that, she only competed against men because that was the thing, right? And it was long established of her competing against men. And keep going. And that's what we're driving home, right? Good. We could dig that.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't that, right? And one of the reasons why China was able to be successful and why it didn't compute when she got into the women's division was because of that 6 foot, 200-something pound frame jacked to the nines, while the rest of the women's division were 5'5", $120, right?
Right. Sure.
Fast forward. I'm not a fan of intergender wrestling, and I feel like it's something that's probably should be kept to the indies, right? And I get the people because there's a lot of women that I like on the indies, and they are advocates for it. You know what I mean? And they like it per se. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's a way for them to get bookings and probably get bookings that pay better. So I want to say I fully acknowledge that. In a major promotion, and if you want to be a major promotion, it has to be handled special, right? So,
right, it's true.
This is probably why it would never happen to WWF, but Tessa winning a title. And I mean, she beat a guy who honestly doesn't sell pro wrestler, but that's fine. That's another story for another time. It says this woman who is about 5'3", 120 pounds is bigger and bad. Not bigger and badder, but she could beat anybody on the roster, right?
Right.
It kind of delegitimizes everybody a little bit, right? So now it's just a whole world weird because then any woman who beats her, that means she could beat any man on the roster. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like so it's a minefield to navigate in that discussion because we're talking about gender, politics, and identity and stuff, and trying to say that a man and a woman, and then trying to deal with the equality quotient of it. You know what I mean? But I'll say it this way: the UFC would never put Ronda Rousey against Conor McGregor, right? Two people of similar stature, they're not going to put them in a match together, right?
Right.
Because the first time Conor swings and hits Ronda in the face, that's the end of the sport. There's no empowerment that you could sell in that scenario. That's the end of the sport.
Right, true.
Floyd Mayweather will not fight Clarissa Shields, right? It's not happening. For the same reason. So, if pro wrestling is simulated combat, this is not good. So when you have gimmick matches and you try to sell something, there's a way to make it work, right? So I didn't like what they did the Nia Jax, Dean Ambrose things. I thought it was kind of weird in WWF, but they never really fleshed it all the way out. And I think they was trying to fuck with Dean because he was on the way out anyway. But even with like somebody like Nia Jax, who physically is big in a sense. You know what I mean? She does not give the same vibe as China, right?
Right.
Same thing with like Awesome Kong. Like, she doesn't give the vibe of China. So it still doesn't work all the way. But when you get to the other women on the roster, it's kind of like, nah, man, I'm sorry, we can't make this work. Right. And I can't co-sign it. Like, as much as, oh, it was historical, oh, it was this, it was that. I'm like, yeah, but where do you go from here, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
The thing about a booking is that not, oh, the crescendo moment of we hit the mountaintop, but what happens after that? How do you continue it on, right? Who's the next person that challenges her, right? Because hypothetically, let's say Moose stepped up and wanted to challenge now for the title. Hey, how do you make this look good without anybody? You know, it's kind of like, that's where you get stuck. And I don't think I don't think it was a good look. That's all. And I think it was a company trying to be so. Okay, so Impact Wrestling was the number 2 wrestling company in the world at one point, right? Maybe number 2, at least in the United States, because New Japan, I don't think they was ever bigger than New Japan, or AAA, or CMLL. So let's put them as the number 2 company in the United States, right?
Right.
Especially in the early, like in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where Ring of Honor didn't have television and they was dropped between HDNet and before they got to Sinclair, you know, where they was just floating around on YouTube trying to hold it together. I don't think it was good for them. I don't know. With all the competition out there, NWA Power, AEW, NXT, you know what I mean, MLW, go down the line. Them trying to put themselves back up, I don't think this did it. And I thought this was a big, heavy swing and miss at trying to be that. And it just didn't happen. That's where I could go with that. We are like an hour deep into the show, and we are nowhere near anything we were supposed to be talking about. So, I'm going to go to the last thing. Because this was something I actually toyed with writing about. And another soapbox moment. So Vince McMahon tweeted his hero ahead of MLK, because yesterday was the MLK holiday. And he tweeted the video package that they later aired on Raw. And please understand, Vince McMahon, this is not the first time he expressed his sentiment that he admired Dr. King and Dr. King was a hero of his. Right?
Right.
Also, the video package was amazing. And one thing WWE does really well is damn video packages. Like, if I die, I need the WWE video team to put my video package together. Because I know that shit is going to be amazing. That all being said, Vince saying that kind of, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, right? And I get why. Every year on the King holiday, all these people start quoting Dr. King and start talking about how great Dr. King was, right? But there are people who, during the year, ate shit. And Vince stands as a representation of somebody who I think likes the idea of Dr. King, but doesn't really get the meaning of who Dr. King was. right? And
Yeah.
his political affiliations and where he spends his money politically definitely shows that he does it. And I get it, he's a billionaire. Billionaires go billionaire, right? They try to protect their money and fuck the poor people, and that's what it is, right? And I'm not saying Vince McMahon is a bad person either. He does incredible work with the troops. He does a lot of good charity work with Special Olympics. The WWE as a brand does a lot of good things with sick kids and Make-A-Wish, and I can't take that away from him at all. Anybody affiliated with them. But I also have to call things out as they exist. It's no secret they've had a race problem. You know what I mean? And I mean that in... I just watch y'all job the hell out of Kofi Kingston. You know what I mean? For Brock. And y'all put it out there on the streets that this was Fox, not really y'all. Because Fox wanted Brock, right? Now...
Right.
The only problem with that is that Fox may have wanted Brock, Keith, but then y'all moved him to Raw immediately after, and y'all haven't transitioned. So Kofi carries the belt for 6 months on his, carries it and does a good job. And then after that, y'all job him in 14 seconds, and then he has not sniffed anything as an individual near being champ again. Now he just New Day Tag Team Champions, and let's let it ride.
Right.
So
true.
And he's the first ever black WWF champion, right? And I say that not saying The Rock was not a black champion, right? The Rock was racially ambiguous, and in the wrestling world, they lead into his Samoan heritage. Like, he would talk about black in the Nation of Domination and yada. But when he ascended to world title status, it was about being part by via Illinois bloodline. And I don't... Kofi is what I call undeniably black, right?
Right.
We can't confuse this. And Booker T and Mark Henry's runs were as world heavyweight champion, which is a different scenario. It wasn't the flagship. It isn't the one that has the company's name on it, because that's a whole different scenario, right? Lashley couldn't get the shot. In 2007, wasn't too many people hotter than Bobby Lashley. 2006, wasn't too many people hotter than Bobby Lashley. And he got to a point where he got towards the top tier, and then he had a match with Cena, and then that was it. Right? They still won't book him against Brock Lesnar, which I think is a conscious effort, or whatever. The black wrestlers in the WWE have had... So I was watching the 2006 Royal Rumble, right? Because I've been going through Royal Rumbles all week. And I saw Shelton Benjamin when he had his mother, right? Who was played by the comedian Thea Vidal, right?
Right.
And it's Shelton Benjamin's mama. And she walking out there in the moo-moo with her hair and the bonnet, and she... It's every black mammy stereotype that you could assess, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And that was how he rolled. Remember Vince McMahon, ECW champion with the do-rag, where he walks up to John Cena and say, "What's up, my nigga?"
Yeah, that was terrible.
That dude...
That was terrible.
Cannot understand Martin Luther King as a hero.
Right.
Sorry. They can't go together. the ideas of how many black champions have you had? How many black superstars are allowed to not be caricatures? They don't create a character called Bad News Brown, who his finishing move is the ghetto blaster.
Right.
I want a white dude named Akeem the African Dream, and he is managed by Slick, who, for all intents and purposes, I don't know what Slick is supposed to be, but Akeem, his move, he dances and he does the jive talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
A caricature of black people. Just going down historical characters that you had and things. And all of that to say, I mean, and I'm trying to be fair to people, and I want to make sure that the things I talk about are the egregious things. So, like, I don't want to go at R-Truth, right? Because I think he's just comedy, per se. And I don't think he's trying to hit any specific racial stereotype tropes. Sometimes it makes it uncomfortable because black people, we got a little relationship where we ain't sure everything we supposed to do in front of white folks. You know what I mean?
Right.
But your idea of, hey, we're going to have a tag team and call them Crime Time. You know what I mean? Some black dudes dressed kind of hood and they going to steal stuff. You know what I mean? They gonna do, they criminals. They are, you know what I mean? I don't think that guy gets Dr. King. That's all I'm saying. And to a larger context, to go deeper, I think that is indicative to a lot of people in mainstream society. Jeff Sessions was out here quoting Dr. King, and Jamel Hill had to bring up the letter that Coretta Scott King wrote to the Senate to not confirm him as a justice because of his racism and the ideas of things he pushed while he was in Alabama. The policies that are supported by the people who these people are politically affiliated with, and the people who are against the social justice reforms and that kind of thing. Y'all don't admire Dr. King in the way y'all think y'all do. Y'all like the idea of Dr. King. And that's all I kind of want to get across. So now, from that heaviness, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to preview Worlds Collide, which is going down Saturday, and then we'll go into the Royal Rumble. So, let's hit the break, and we'll be back.
When I was a kid, I was the one you avoided on the playground. I never did play well with others. And when I got my report card from school, it always said, disruptive in class. But that's gonna serve me well. I'm one of the 30 competitors in the Royal Rumble match. The way I see it, anybody can win. The person who's gonna win this match isn't gonna care about friendships or alliances or any of that do the right thing crap. The person who wins this match isn't gonna give a damn about their own physical well-being. As long as the end justifies the means, right? So don't count me out. Count me in. As far as tonight goes, 2 of my opponents in the Royal Rumble are my partners tonight, and we got one big thing in common. We detest the authority. Nobody tells me what to do. I just go out there and do it.
Ew, okay. So, we're back. Let's see. So, Worlds Collide, Keish. NXT generally drops a takeover around this time, right? But they're going to do something different. The promotion is on fire. I mean, it's probably been the most, I'm not going to say the most popular, but I think amongst hardcore wrestling fans, the one that people have been attached to. And NXT UK, I think, has rode the wave and stepped up along with it. Like, they have two fully functioning NXT brands, you know what I mean, that deliver good wrestling.
It's true.
And now, so I think every year with TakeOver, they've delivered. And now to have Worlds Collide happen on the same weekend as a major pay-per-view, I'm like, whew, they still gonna show up the main roster.
Right.
Like, wow, right? So, just looking at it, I'm like, they got something going on here. And I appreciate it. So, let's talk. So, Finn Balor will take on IIja Dragunov. This is easy, man. Finn go win, because as much as they might like this other guy, I think Finn is supposed to really, eventually at some point, help bolster NXT to do the thing that I think NXT is going to need more people to come down from the main roster.
Yeah.
And help work with these other people and give them a little bit of guidance. But for that, these guys got to win some matches. And I don't think they really invested in getting heel Finn over either. And that's something that they need to really work on. But, yeah, so that's happening. Now to the fun stuff. Angel Garza will defend the Cruiserweight title against IIja Swerve Scott, Jordan Devlin, and Travis Banks. Fatal 4-way, I guess. Do you think this is the time for Swerve, who, you know, they've kept him kind of always in contention in that Cruiserweight division since he's been on the roster?
Right.
Since he's came out, you know, this was Swerve Strickland. You know what I mean? And they want to keep the Swerve thing going. But, of course, you know WWE, man. If you ain't made it long enough, they're going to change that name on you. They ain't going to let you run with your old name. So, but they've kept him kind of in a sweet spot where he hasn't been too far off, and he's had some really good matches against people at the upper tier of that division. But is this his time? Or I don't think Devlin wins it as much as they like him. Banks maybe, or does the belt just stay with Garza? It's kind of interesting. I guess I think the belt probably will stay with Garza. I don't expect too many title changes.
Nah.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be. Not this weekend. There's not going to be too many title changes going on. I was going to say that I see retention because of that. Like, it's just not. I don't see this being the weekend that, you know, titles start to just switch hands, and, you know, we're not going to see too many new champions this weekend. Just period.
Right.
So now I'm not going to say that we're not going to see them at all, because of course that's definitely not true. But but I don't see too many going on.
Right.
And this just happens to be one of them.
Yeah, I don't see it either myself. Rhea Ripley, the newly crowned NXT Women's Champion, will take on a familiar opponent who has beaten her for the UK Women's title before, Toni Storm.
Mm-hmm. Is it true?
It's kind of funny because they call it Worlds Collide, but these are pretty much two UK wrestlers fighting over the US version of the belt. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll say this. I I like Rhea Ripley to retain. Like, I can't really go around. As much as I think it's a good feather to cap of their rivalry, I think it's an interesting juxtaposition of where the rivalry has evolved, because now they're both baby faces, essentially. Where I think the last time they wrestled for the title, Ripley was considered kind of a heel. Storm was the up-and-coming baby face. Yada, yada, yada. I think they're both considered baby faces now. I think Storm will eventually regain the UK title. I don't know how UK and NXT US are both supposed to work. And what I mean by that is this. Are the UK wrestlers eventually going to transition to come over? Or are some people going to come over as their star rises? Or they want to come over because they want to... Or are they just going to stay in the UK and be stars in the UK? Right? Like, there's some questions that I would have to ask about that. Like, is Rhea... Because Rhea Ripley, actually, essentially, I've seen her more on the US side in the last few months. But I've seen a lot of Toni Storm over here too. So that's something that's I think will be kind of interesting. I'll say Ripley retains. DIY reunion versus Moustache Mountain.
I'm curious to see how this goes with the reunion of Gargano and Ciampa. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying, but
yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. I think it'll be an interesting match, to say the least. But you know, I get weary when I see them together.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. DIY may lose just because Moustache Mountain has been competing a lot as a team. DIY hasn't in a while. Maybe I don't know. It's kind of hard because theoretically they should. I mean, DIY I feel like is a much better team, but I don't know because the way I'm looking at this is like. I'm almost calling the U.S. guys almost for a sweep. You know, well, but then again, maybe not because so Finn wins, but Garza wins. Ripley, that kind of is a toss up because her and Storm both are kind of considered UK. I think it's gonna be a good match. I think this is a potential to have match of the night on it, right? Expect a lot of false finishes. Expect a lot of high spots. No, I can't. Conceptually, though, I can't see DIY losing. Which, when we get to the main event, I can't see that going any other way either. So, I don't know.
Right. True.
So let's call it. I'm calling for DIY.
I mean, yeah. I don't really see it any other way, to tell the truth. So, but I don't know though. Like I said, I get weary when I see them together. So this is a little sexy for me.
No. So main event. The Imperium takes on the Undisputed Era. I mean, Keesh. Wow.
Right.
The two most dominant forces in NXT. Go at it. The world champs and their factions will face off. The Undisputed Era drew first blood. They went after the Imperium at the last UK Takeover pay-per-view. Kind of let them know, like, hey, man, we in here, right? We the force in NXT. Like, I think this is basically this pay-per-view is who's dominant in the land of NXT. I don't really there's nothing I could see that I would say, oh, the Undisputed Era has just been rough shot and dominant over everybody in NXT, right?
Right.
It doesn't go any other way. Now that being said, this could be a good shot for the Imperium, and it could be, who knows what the future holds, right? I don't know who's going to be in a Royal Rumble the next night. I don't know if people are going to start going to Raw or SmackDown. I don't know if this is the time where maybe we start showing cracks in the armor of an Undisputed Era. But right now, I don't know. Like, there was a time for that at War Games, or there was a time for that in other places. Like, these guys, they always figure it out. Adam Cole might be the top guy right now. Like, I think the last magazine, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, had him the Wrestler of the Year 2019. Which is huge. Like, I don't know if Adam Cole ever saw that in his future.
Right.
But, yeah, man, I can't pick against the Undisputed Era this match. But I do like the match. Like, I like two top factions, two top heel factions. Like, hey, we dominate. And the guy who leads each faction is, I'm a world champ. I'm the champ in my spot. I run this. Both of the tag teams in these groups are trying to win the Dusty Rhodes Classic.
Right.
There's a lot to be said. There's a lot going on here. So, I'm excited. I can tell you that. I appreciate what they got going on. Let's see, Mick. Like, I was talking and I was like, I hope I cut the mics back on. You don't understand how many times I came off a break and like started talking, and I'm like, whoa, I did not turn the mic on. And it was thick. And it's always some heat too. Keshia, I be dropping some heat sometimes. And I'm like, that's 20 minutes of dead air. Then I have to now go back in and edit. And hope I get to the edit in enough time where I don't, the show isn't exported to iTunes or something like that and trying to have to re-export it and all that stuff, because, it's hard to explain. And people don't look at, when they get, if you get something on your iPhone or something like that, I was about to say iPod, show you how old I am. You don't listen and be like, oh, there's some dead air. Maybe I need to fast forward. You'll be like, I'll turn this shit off. So, just try not to mess up. So next, Royal Rumble, Keish. The big event. The event that establishes the road to WrestleMania. This right here is your first step to how we get to April. Right? Everything after this is about getting to April. And how we're going to figure out our main event for WrestleMania. Or whatever convolutes that get to some semblance of a main event. Right?
Right.
I'll say this. In the 30 plus years of these Royal Rumbles, this one, I think, will be one of the most interesting. Because how they have it set up and who they have in it. Right?
Right.
The WWE Champion is in the Royal Rumble. Not defending the title, which was done by Roman Reigns. The title is not up for grabs like it was when Ric Flair won it. But no, he is in it and could possibly win. And what does he do? Who does he challenge? Well, Is he going to challenge the Universal Champion and try to take both belts?
Right.
Now, that's interesting. That's something worth talking about, right?
Right.
But he got a lot going on. There's a lot ahead of him. There's a lot of people in this match. I feel like the Women's Royal Rumble has an underdeveloped storyline. And I just don't know how that's supposed to shake out, right? And I think the only thing that can save that is one entry as a surprise entry, and I think that can elevate the whole thing and change it. So let's go down the line. Let's get down the card, and we'll talk about it. Shorty G will wrestle a returning Sheamus. I mean,
I don't know, man.
Here's the thing.
I don't really know about that.
I'm gonna say this. People don't really lose when they return. Sheamus been gone for like a year and a half or so. I'm gonna give it to Sheamus, right? Both of these guys may be in the Royal Rumble later on that night, but yeah, I'm gonna give that match to Sheamus and call it a day. Going down the line here. Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This is interesting because Corbin is slated to be in the Rumble. I don't see Roman Reigns' name on the... Oh, yeah, he is. He is declared in the Rumble also. So both of these guys are declared in the Rumble. Now, a lot of people like to do double duty, especially because, I mean, Keish, it's hard to find 30 people that are interested, right? Falls Count Anywhere is a heavy endeavor to take in. And both of y'all going to be trying to do the Rumble later on that evening. Is one of these guys not going to make it to the Rumble? That's a question. Also, I like King Corbin. I think King Corbin is like one of the better heels. You know what I mean? That we have. Because people generally don't like him. And he's good at keeping that heat. Good guy on the mic. I think it'll work. But what happens with Dolph Ziggler? What happens with the return of Bobby Roode, who Roman Reigns knocked out of action, they say. Which that ain't what happened. Do test positive. The Usos, will they be there? You know what I mean? Because in the Falls Count Anywhere match where there ain't no rules, there ain't no DQ, people gonna show up. They got backup. And it's gonna be a flip hub. But do both of those guys make it to the Rumble later on? Is the question. Because it's Fall Counts Anywhere. It's not last man standing. So that might work out. I don't think... I'm going to go with King Corbin in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy enough.
I agree.
And then Roman has to figure out the get back. Becky Lynch versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title. What do you think?
In a strange twist of events, right? I would think that Becky loses the title, but I don't think that they're going to do that right now. I really feel like they're going to save that for WrestleMania. So I'm going to have Becky retaining the Rumble, but just to see the storyline play out for WrestleMania, because I feel like they're going to have set up for, of course, the biggest event of the year. I like the Asuka storyline. I like where they're going with it. And to keep it going, of course, having her lose the title right now would be ideal, but I just don't see it happening.
No.
That's my whole thing.
She's carried that title since WrestleMania. I don't think she loses it now, even though it could make sense, especially with Cardi saying could interfere and cause some problems in the match. It'll work. Becky really don't have no friends. Charlotte focused on the Rumble. She ain't really a friend. I could see Asuka winning, but I think Becky's gonna retain. Now, also the idea, because the Rumble's happening, could Ronda Rousey interfere and cost Becky the belt, and then we set up for another match between those two somehow? Like that, there's all these things are in play, right?
Right.
We could try to get back to a triple threat. So let's say Ronda costs Becky the match. Becky tries to get into the Rumble. Ronda's in the Rumble. You know what I mean? And I don't know if Ronda's in the Rumble, but this is an idea. And then we go from there. Or Ronda wins, but then Becky challenges Ronda later on. Kind of the way Charlotte got wedged into the triple threat last year. Anyway. But I think more logically, Becky probably wins, and then something happens to Rumble that affects what happens after that, right?
Right.
Bray Wyatt defends the Universal title against Daniel Bryan. I don't see the belt coming off of Bray after he was, even though I think he was made to be a transitional champion.
Yeah, but I don't see him losing the title. I think the title is more so fit for him at this point. I think that the idea was genuinely for him to be a transitional champion, but the way things are going with Bray, like, I don't see him dropping the belt at this point.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'll say this: he is the champion, and I think he has the number 3 storyline on the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
they're never in main event segments. Like, I think it's kind of telling that, hey, maybe it might need to go somewhere else. But I mean,
true.
I don't think necessarily. And here's the thing: I think this is part of the rebuild of Daniel Bryan, but I don't know if Daniel's ready to win it right now. And I think Daniel is more interesting chasing the title than holding it. And some guys are better than, like, there's two different types of, I ain't gonna say two different types. There's a few. There's guys who are really good as champion, right? And then there are guys who are really good trying to become champion. Like, the idea of them and the obstacle and the journey is what sells the tickets. Yeah. But once they get there, it's just kind of, I don't know. That was the thing with Sting. It was always cool to watch Sting chase the belt, but his title runs always left something to be desired. Like, it never really, I don't know, something just never really clicked with him as champion. But
yeah, you want it for him so bad, but then when they get to that point, it's like, well, this is kind of dry, you know, like. Yes,
that's exactly what it is.
Lacking something.
That's exactly what it is. You're like, hey, this seems a little dry. I didn't expect
like
this.
You didn't, cause I guess because you have such high expectations of what this person would be like as champion, you would think that because they deserve it, you know what I'm saying, that they should get that title run. But then they get that title run, and it's like, no, this is a little dry. Like, this wasn't what I was expecting it to be. You know what I'm saying? Because now they've reached their point. They've reached the highest point that they could get to. There ain't nowhere to go but down from there. And if they're not a sellable champion, then eventually that they're going to get stripped of that title because it just doesn't work. Like, Kofi was champion for so long because it worked. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one person they didn't think that should get a shot at this, they gave a shot to, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? When Roman was champion, people were kind of like, oh, this is a little dry. You know what I'm saying? Because he come out there with his usual, you know, biggest dog in the yard stuff, and it was just kind of like, we need a little bit more, Roman. We need a little bit more.
The problem with Roman was he never got off to the right thing, right? And this goes back like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So, as much as people liked him, it was obvious he was the office guy, right? It was obvious that he was somebody that they wanted to push. Okay.
Right.
Not really a problem. Problem comes in is that Daniel Bryan comes back after injury. And this is the yes movement, Daniel Bryan. This is like, you know what I mean? The guy they altered WrestleMania for the year before. He comes back and he goes into the Royal Rumble and they eliminate him kind of early. I watched that Rumble, actually, right? In 2015, very recently. Like I said, I went through a lot of the Rumbles this week. So to see that, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. That was a death knell for him. Because it was like, oh, we thought this guy was coming back and getting his spot back. Because, you know, people love returning people. And he didn't. And y'all just went to this guy. And it's like more the same. Y'all don't trust this guy. You know what I mean? All this stuff.
Right.
Fast forward. Nobody was ever said to like him after that, right? And then when fans rejected him, they kept going with the push. Fans rejected, they kept pushing. And it just led to this weird thing. So, yeah. Literally, the man had to get cancer before we start cheering for him. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And then when he came back, after a while, we kind of like, all right, we had the feel-good moment. Now we're back to this guy sucks. And I mean, but they haven't tried to push him again since then either, right?
Right. Right.
Which could be coming. So, let's see how that works out. I guess I'm going to keep the belt on Bray just to see what happens, right?
Right.
Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. Which, can I say, maybe one of my favorite storylines?
Yeah.
Right now. I'm just saying, I don't know why I like it so much. And I didn't know Lacey would be okay as a babyface. But she has to, okay, so it's kind of like the Kurt Angle thing. Like, in theory, you had to figure they was going to get a babyface run at some time because they have all the things going. Like, she's a mother. She's a lady. She is an ex-Marine. You know what I mean?
Right.
She is America. Like, everything works out. But, hey, man, this story got a little funny. Even to, like, man, your kid don't dig you.
Right.
But even before that, hey, man, the kid cried while y'all put that work in on her mama. That actually, like, this seems a little real. You know what I mean? Nice little heat there. So, like I said, one of my favorite storylines. That being said, I think Bayley keeps her belt.
Yeah.
I think Bayley... We might get Bayley versus Sasha for that SmackDown title at WrestleMania.
Well, that's what I figured it was going towards.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know how we're going to angle it.
Yeah, the whole Sasha and Bailey best friend thing is only going to last. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know that one is going to turn on the other. And honestly, at this point, I believe it's going to be Bailey turning on Sasha. Yeah. Because that's the only thing to me that makes sense at this point. Because you want to keep Bailey a heel. So that is the only way you're going to really be able to do it. But at the same time, like, if anybody doesn't see that coming, then they're retarded. Because it's like, you have to know that this is going to be the next step.
Right.
You know, no, Bailey's not losing that title at Royal Rumble. We all know that's not happening.
Right.
At all. You know what I'm saying? I like the Lacey storyline. I think she's good as a face. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Bailey with the belt. So that takes us into the Women's Royal Rumble, right? Now, I don't know how all these matches are going to lay out. They might drop one of these in the beginning of the show or at the end, right?
Right.
The Women's Royal Rumble literally only has 4 women announced for it. And they have to fill a 30-woman thing, right? The problem is that they haven't developed a roster enough maybe to do it, but I think between NXT UK, who have full-fledged rosters, SmackDown and Raw, we'll see something, right? Right now, the 4 participants that are announced are Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, and Sarah Logan, right?
Right.
The easy favorite is Charlotte Flair, right? So, first I'm going to try to fill out the Rumble a little bit. I'm going to add Kairi Sane. That gets me to 5, right?
Right.
Will Ruby Riott return? Like, there's always surprise entrances, right?
Right.
Can we get Ruby Riott? Because that would be awesome.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to have Liv Morgan.
Yeah, Liv Morgan and Lana. So, that gets us... if I had Liv Morgan, Lana, and Kairi, that's 8...
Dana Brooke, Natalya, Tamina. I want to say Tamina.
Possibly a Nia Jax return, right?
Right.
So that would be huge. Sasha Banks. I mean, I think she's gonna come in, right?
Right.
We may. And give some time.
Maurice thrown in there.
Who?
I said, well, we may get Maurice thrown in there. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. You know what? That sounds like Mrs. is doing good, and they want to promote that. And Maurice doing some time would help.
Right.
And they, they like returns. They like people who come. Maybe the Bellas do a quick cameo return.
Right. Because, of course, you got to throw in, your legends in there a couple of times. And
yeah, Trish Stratus is always a thing.
So, and then, of course, there's the NXT roster.
Yeah.
So
I think definitely
Shayna
Baszler is going to be a force in the Rumble. Like, I think she's going to really matter because I think they'll do some transitions. So, she's going to really matter. Mia Yim probably will be in the Rumble. Bianca Belair will be in the Rumble. Because like I said, we got to fill this thing up. We got to get to 30. I mean, Charlotte Flair is probably a favorite. And then Ronda Rousey, if she makes her return at the Rumble, they might hold her out as like a number 30. Or, but I do see her making it as something that'll make it crack. Who else? Yeah, so Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, and Sasha Banks will probably be my top 3 in that scenario.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll be happy to see any legends or whoever else comes out. And maybe Ronda Rousey doesn't show, but I really got a feeling this is where Ronda Rousey returns. The men's Royal Rumble actually is almost filled up. They got 22 of the 30 people already announced. Like Roman Reigns.
You know the men's Royal Rumble is going to go by.
Yeah.
You know they're going to jump in that quickly.
Yeah. So you got Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, Eric Rowan, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Elias, Baron Corbin, Dolph, Otis, Tucker, Rusev, Lashley, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. That's 20. Okay. I want to hold out some spots for some surprise entrances. I'm trying to think who's hurt. Who was hurt and hasn't been around? Who hasn't been... So, maybe the Miz might be one of the other people that just hasn't been announced. Maybe John Morrison comes in, even though he's been on TV. I don't see any of the New Day guys. So... Are Kofi and Big E not gonna be in? But if you drop both of them in, that takes us up to 24. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if any old timer. You know, you probably got 1 or 2 slots for an old timer. I think Adam Cole might do it. You know what I mean? Because they like using NXT guys. Keith Lee might come in and get a spot.
Yeah, I can see Keith Lee definitely being in the next.
Because he had such a big run at Survivor Series that I would love to use that momentum and then have him throwing some guys out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Would be nice. Big Show, I think, you know, he did came and went, but maybe he'll be in there. I can't really think of any guys that's just been like, all right, that guy, I haven't seen him in a minute. Like Drew McIntyre is back. Kane might show up, you know, and have a quick moment. You know, if he ain't too busy. Because Glenn Jacobs is the mayor of Knox County. So, you know, that kind of takes precedence. But, yeah, I don't know. Now, who could win? Oh, Cain Velasquez, I think, is going to probably be in the Rumble. And
yeah, true.
Because I think that might be the thing where him and Brock might have a confrontation, and that's a thing, right? But look at the... Okay, so Brock, Drew McIntyre... Maybe Roman Reigns, which is not really a good idea, but that never stopped him before. I don't know. Like, it's the men's field is kind of wide open too, right? Like the women, I kind of could see 3 top tier contenders, but the men's thing is kind of wide open because I can make a case for anybody. King Corbin, like he was the Rumble. People will be mad, people will be this or whatever, but that guy could actually make something happen. Right?
Right.
Like, whoever he faced at WrestleMania, I'd be interested in. Braun Strowman, theoretically, as dominant as he's always been, is just... He's not really a guy... Nobody, I think, wants to see him with the title, per se. Even though him and Brock having a match could always work. Because it has before. Brock winning and then challenger for the Universal title, I think, is just a storyline that's out there. Roman Reigns finally completing the comeback is a thing. Seth Rollins, you know what I mean? Seth Rollins, heel right. Seth Rollins with AOP and Murphy and all that stuff. Him winning it as a heel would be interesting. You know what I mean? Especially with Brock having the title, right? If he wanted to challenge right. Brock, Brock would instantly be slated kind of the babyface status. Because he's beaten Brock twice. But hey, could he... What will Brock do against Seth Rollins, who now has backup? Right?
Right, true.
Because as bad as Brock is, them AOP guys are tough and big. You know, they can gang up on him and cause some problems. This guy got a whole army behind him. So, I mean, there's ways to make it work. So, I don't know. Shinsuke Nakamura is a guy that's like, wow, that guy could be, again, he's done it before.
Right.
I don't know. Who are your potential favorites?
Let's see. Definitely not excited to see Brock. So let's just get that out of the way. The Monday Night Messiah, of course, definitely want to see him. To tell the truth, I can see it being very interesting, considering now he has a faction. So I can see all four of Seth, Buddy, and both members of AOP actually entering. The other three protecting him, of course.
Right.
If anything, sacrificing themselves towards the end just so that he can win. It's always nice to see Roman in the mix. Definitely interested to see who they're going to bring up from NXT. You know who I can see? Velveteen Dream. I don't know where he's been at lately.
Yeah, he's been injured. So, yeah. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully he can if he's cleared, of course, hopefully he makes a return in the Rumble. Let's see. Of course, there's the AJ Styles and the
Gallows and Anderson, yeah.
Right. And Adam Cole. But it's going to be interesting to see how many factions they keep together in the Rumble and how many, they're just going to have like one a member or two. I know Xavier Woods is still out right now.
Right. Yeah, he's
so
that's
if anything, so it'll just be either, it'll probably just be Kofi or Big E or both of them.
Yeah.
Not completely sure. Definitely interesting to see how that goes, but those are a few of my favorites that I'm ready to see. That's always exciting. It's always exciting to see Kofi in the room.
Here's what I say.
Honestly, I done got used to seeing how he's going to save himself every year. Honestly, that is one of my favorite parts of the room. Just to see how is Kofi going to overcome this obstacle this year.
I thought it was funny. I watched the 2015 one where they threw him out. He got caught by the Rosebuds with Adam Rose, and then Adam Rose got threw out, and they didn't get him. And I'm like, everyone's like, well, what happened to the Rosebuds? Shit.
That's right. Right.
Drew McIntyre is an interesting one, right? Like, y'all have worked him since he's been back, and like he had a rise where he looked like he was gonna go up the ladder, but then they didn't do anything with him. But if you take that man who 6'6" and pretty big and stand him in front of Brock Lesnar, it looks like he can legitimately give Brock a problem.
Right.
And I'd have a segment where, they meet and talk on Raw, and Brock tries him, and he ends up hitting him with a Claymore kick. And Paul is like, oh, I don't know what the hell to do with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now we off and running. Now, that means Drew got to still survive for another 3 months, because Brock ain't going to be showing up, so that's fine. But then Drew got to have compelling storylines and survive until that time. But, yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to leave out of here, and I'm just going to give you 3 names. Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar. Those would be my 3.
Yeah. I don't know if I have 3. I don't know if I just have 3. I just named off a whole group of people, so I don't know if I have just 3. I can't give you that right now. You know what? I can't give you that. Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston, Roman Reigns. Definitely can give you 3. These are 3 that I'm excited to see. And see how they do in the Rumble. So I'm ready for that. Definitely.
Yeah. So with that, I think we are going to close out the show. We appreciate everybody for listening. We are going to try to do this as often as we can, and at least be back next week to give you all a recap show. And with that, we are out. Peace.
Bye.